Welcome to Tennis Spin, where we put our spin on your pickle. We're actually going to be talking about pickleball paddles today. I got my buddy Kevin from Selkirk explaining the paddles to you. Stay tuned. All right, guys, so a little behind on my coffee, but my sponsor of the day is Philippe and Bruna. Philippe and Bruna write, "We are fans from Rio, Brazil. On our honeymoon in Napa Valley this June, we'll drop by to visit the shop. Cheers." Oh, Philippe and Bruna were here last week already, so I'm a little behind in thanking people, but I'm trying to catch up as fast as I can. They actually took us out on one of the videos, and I was able to meet them on their honeymoon. So here's to you guys. Hope you had a great honeymoon out here in Northern California, and hopefully you had a lot of great wine. Congratulations. If you want to be my coffee sponsor of the day, network is buymeacoffee.com/tennis spin. Thank you in advance. So waiting on my buddy Kevin from Selkirk. Hold on, let me take a slug of this. Who's going to explain to us how to buy what are these guys? Pickleball paddle. Like, what is the difference between a Latitude, which is on the lower end side, versus a Mach 6, which is on the higher end side? What are these made of? How should you choose? All right, guys, so Kevin Klabundi from Selkirk in the house. Been my rep for 4 years now. I've probably only been buying paddles from him for probably 3 of those 4 years. But we got the number one company in the house today in the name of Selkirk. So let's quickly ask that question. How did Selkirk become the number one company?
Well, Selkirk started a little over 7 years ago. They're based out of Coeur d'Alene, Idaho. They started in Hayden, and they really connected with some of the top pros at the time. Tyson McGuffin is kind of one of our cornerstone pros. He was number one in the world. He's, I think, currently he's a top 5 in the world. And then we've got some of the top players like Cammie McGregor, Glenn Peterson. I can keep naming Wes Gabrielson. And we've done some collaboration with them on paddle design and with some signature products. So we have a signature line with their signature on it. This would happen to be Tyson McGuffin's signature paddle, the Invictus shape that he's been using for years. We have 2 lines within our brand. We have the SLK line, which would be our starter series of paddles in your Latitude. That's a graphite paddle, nice big sweet spot on it for a beginner. It starts at the price point is $59.99. Okay. And then we have the SLK Atlas at $79.99. Again, that's a graphite face. Great starter paddle. Then we bump up in our technology to a fiberglass face in our Evo hybrid line. This is a $99 price point, so that's really a nice paddle. We just designed a new paddle. We have an edgeless Omega Max. It's a carbon paddle. It's $139.99, and it'll be out in July. This is a great paddle. Really moves through the air nicely. It's kind of, I call it a blade. So that's going to be a really good paddle at the $139 price point.
Now, what am I getting, Kevin, by a Latitude, going up to an Atlas, going up to, these two? What are the differences?
Differences in the product? Well, I would say, so your Latitude and your Atlas are really just a shape difference. They're both graphite paddles, a little bit bigger shape for a beginner in the Latitude, but the Atlas has a nice head size as well. So these two are fairly similar. Great starter paddles. I mean, often you're going to have families come in, they've never played pickleball. they want 4 paddles, and they don't even know the game yet. So that's a great place to start with our SLK line, and then they can bump up to our Selkirk Amp series and our Vanguard that I'll talk about in a minute. But difference-wise, not a huge difference in these 2 paddles. Every company has to have price points within their line, and every customer has a price they want to pay for a product. So we have a couple of price points there, but not a big difference. A little bit
wider,
a little bit thicker in our Atlas. So a little more power with an Atlas, I would say, if you want to really let someone know the major difference there. Then you're going to have a different feel with a fiberglass face, a little crisper, a little more pop off the paddle with our hybrid. And then we're going to get into, with our Omega. This is definitely a different paddle. It's a carbon material. It's edgeless. There's no edge guard on it. And like I mentioned, it really is going to fly through the air nicely for your spins. Hits. So that's pretty much.
So that's coming, guys. No edgeless, no rubber guards.
Yeah.
This actually looks like a ping pong paddle to me.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's
move on. And a really nice price point at $139.99. Yeah. And then we bump up to our products made up in Coeur d'Alene, Idaho. We've got a factory up there, U.S. made, lifetime warranty on our what we would call our Amp series. So we've got an Amped on there. These are a FiberFlex technology face. They've got a polypropylene core. We have several shapes within this line of Amped. I call it the Amp series, or we call it the Amp series. We have the Invicta. We have an S2 shape. We have an Epic shape. We have the Mach 6. Mach 6 is a longer handle. We just came out with the Mach 6 in the Amp series. And then we have a very unique shape called the Omni. You're not carrying it yet, but you could special order it for somebody. It's a shorter handle with a longer face on it. So that's a FiberFlex technology. Then we get into our Vanguard series. Vanguard series is a quad carbon face. When you get a carbon face, you're going to get a little more touch with your shots. Pickleball is all about that third shot drop, keeping the ball in front of your opponent. And this paddle really performs with some good power, but also absorbing hard shots from your opponent to reset the ball in front of them. So what I mean by that is the ball just doesn't hit and pop off real quick. It kind of absorbs it a little bit. So that would be the Vanguard Invicta. We make this in several shapes. The Vanguards come in an Epic shape, an S2, the Mach 6. This is a Mach 6 shape right here. So you have a longer handle in the Mach 6, a little bit longer than the Invicta. Great for two-handed backhand players. The S2 is very popular, this shape. A little bit shorter handle for folks that maybe have smaller hand, or they really want to get kind of a wrist snap on their put-away shots, on their overheads. The Epic we don't have out here, but the Epic shape is similar to the S2. We also make an Omni shape in the Vanguard line as well. So and those are like I mentioned, a quad carbon face for absorption of the ball a little bit, and they have the same polypropylene type core as the Amp series. So
these are in the $150 to $200 range.
Exactly, $150 on your Amp series. These are going to be a little bit crisper hit. And then when someone wants to get into, they get a little bit more advanced with their game and they want to get a little more touch, a little more feel, they might go to this Vanguard series paddle with that quad carbon face as well. So difference being, in these paddles, in the Amp series, a little crisper hit, and then with your Vanguard series, you're going to have a little more touch, a little more feel. So both great playing paddles made up in Coeur d'Alene, and we will have some new products coming out in late August that we'll talk about when we get closer to that time frame. So
the one question that I do get asked is, what's the most powerful paddle?
Most powerful paddle, I would say our Vanguard Invicta, and our and then if you want a bigger sweet spot, the Epic and the S2. But the Vanguard line is going to have the most pop, I'd say, the most power and touch, kind of a combination thereof. Mm-hmm. So,
and why is that? What's causing the power?
Well, it's a carbon face. It's they're lightweight, maneuverable paddle. Also, the player will help with the power. So
no, we want help.
Yeah, it's the wizard, not just the wand. So. But yeah, you're going to get good power with your Vanguard series. The Amped have very good power as well, and I recommend taking lessons from like a PPR or an IPTPA certified pro to get better at pickleball, obviously. But the paddles they do make a difference.
Let's ask this question: what's your number one selling paddle?
I'd say the number one seller would be the Vanguard Invicta and the Vanguard S2. As well as the Epic. Those three shapes, those are our three top selling shapes. It's really, it's a preference thing with some folks. I'm 5'9". I like the longer Vanguard. It's almost an inch longer than the S2. You can see that difference there in the length. When you're playing pickleball, you're going to be at the kitchen line, reaching in, trying to pick off the higher ball. And that extra inch for me makes a big difference. Some folks might want a bigger sweet spot in the S2. It's a little bit wider paddle. There is a rule in pickleball that the maximum length you can have a 17-inch long paddle, and then the combined measurement would be 23 inches. So if you have a 17-inch paddle, you can only go 6 inches wide, and that's a real narrow paddle. So
got it. So it's not limitless.
Yeah,
okay,
exactly.
That's good to know.
So yeah.
All right, guys. So I want to thank my special guest, Kevin Klabundi from Selkirk Sports, showing us the way in pickle today. If you want to learn more about the Selkirk family of products, I will link the information below to their website. Kevin, thank you for joining me today.
Pleasure being here.
Guys, thank you for watching Tennis Spin, where we put our spin on your pickle. All right, guys, I'm promoting these TKR caps, Pickle Time, in my store. So if you want to get your Pickle Time hat on, check it out, tennisspinusa.com. Get yours there.